to worry. You made it through the night. Darkness is over. Welcome to the rest of your
Something
life.
good is going to happen to you.
Change your life. Change your day. 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 You don't have to worry. You made it through the night. Darkness is over. Welcome to the rest of your life.
Something good is going to happen to you.
Change your life. Change your day. 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 You don't have to worry. You made it through the night. Darkness is over. Welcome to the rest of your life.
Something good is going to happen to you.
Change your life. Change your day. 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 You don't have to worry. You made it through the night. Darkness is over. Welcome to the rest of your
Something
life.
good is going to happen to you.
Change your life. Change your day. 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 Change your life. Change your day.
Are you ready? The wait is over. Young Preacher's Advice, the first ever written publication from RevAndreCook. Prophet, overseer, now author, a must-have in your library. Young Preacher's Advice, Volume 1.
Now available on Amazon.com. Or to order your copy of Young Preacher's Advice Volume 1, call 866-922-6995, extension 118.
You don't have to worry. You made it through the night. Darkness is over. Welcome to the rest of your
Something
life.
good is going to happen to you.
Change your life. Change your day. Change your life, change your day, 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 change.
Are you ready to be empowered, enlightened, and enriched? Get ready. Here's your host for the Change Your Day, Change Your Life Empowerment Conference call, Prophet Andre Cook.
Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. It is the day that the Lord has made. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad in it. And I was glad when they said unto me, let us go in to the house of the Lord. Thank you for joining me for the live with Pastor Andre Cook. It is Women's Perspective Wednesday. In the great month of May and in the ministry, it is Women's Empowerment Month. And oh boy, do we have a major subject and discussion for you today. And I am elated to have two very special guests who are going to be joining me for the conversation. And the conversation today is a conversation, women balancing marriage and ministry. Now, our numbers are low, but with you doing what you do, I'm certain our numbers are going to increase because this is such a great subject matter conversation. Go ahead, tag, like, and share. Tag, like, and share. Get ready. Something good is getting ready to happen to you. I am, for those who do not know, I am the senior minister, teacher, and pastor of the Life Chapel. We're one church, multiple locations. Newburgh, New York, Hollis, Queens, New York, which is the home of the Charge service, and Raleigh, North Carolina. Yours serve as senior minister, teacher, and pastor. And I am elated to welcome you to the sanctuary, or the cyber sanctuary of the Life Chapel. Come on, tag, like, and share. Get into this space. We've got a tremendous conversation. I want to invite you to join us on Sunday in the sanctuary of the Life Chapel, home of the Charge service, where revival continues. You can join us 75 minutes. The Sunday school edition of Live with Pastor Andre Cook in the sanctuary of the Life Chapel at 9 a.m. to 10:15 a.m. on Sundays. Or you can join me midday, 12 noon, corporate prayer, 12:30. Our praise and worship begins as we continue to fan the flames of the fire of revival. 182-25 Jamaica Avenue, Hollis, Queens, New York, home of the Charge service. Tuesday nights, 7:30 p.m. First, second, third Tuesday only, in person exclusively. Join us for a time of oil, wine, and the bread, the oil, and the wine. The oil of his anointing, we receive of the body of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and his blood, which was shed for us. I facilitate. At times I'm joined by Overseer Robert Nelson. 182-25 Jamaica Avenue, Hollis, Queens, New York is the place to be. And on this coming Sunday will be the first Sunday of June, which means it's time for First Sunday Charge. That's right. The Charge service has been relaunched, and it is taking place at 6 p.m. That is at 6 p.m. on first Sundays, the first Sunday of June. I'm looking for you. It is going to be a tremendous time. Yours truly will be sharing the Word of God. And then the following Saturday, or the Saturday after first Sunday, the unusual hour of prayer. S&S, sacrifice on Saturdays. That's right. We sacrifice 2 hours on Saturdays, the first Saturday of each month, 3 to 5 p.m. Join me in a time of prayer. And as we gather for prayer, when you seek his face, you'll find his mouth. Get ready. Something good is getting ready to happen to you. I am excited. That's right. I am excited to present to you our guest, Pastor Camera G. McCone, New Beginnings Ministry, Ellenville, New York. She is the wife of one of my sons in the ministry, and that is Overseer Tassan McCone. Blessings to you, Elder, Pastor, First
Blessing.
Lady, wife, mother, Camera G. McCone. Greet our viewing audience.
Blessings to you, Apostle, this afternoon, and to all those who are coming on and yet to come on. Those who are watching the replay, God bless you this afternoon. It is a privilege and a pleasure to be on this platform today and to be able to share experiences.
Wonderful. And that melodious voice, oh my, of the kingdom. You haven't heard no singing until you have heard the voice. Pastor Sabrina Shaw, Crown Ministries, Brooklyn, New York, Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City, the wife of my son, begotten of the Spirit, Bishop Jonathan Shaw, Elder Pastor, First Lady, Mother, Dr. Sabrina Shaw. Welcome to Live with yours truly, Women's Perspective Wednesday. Greet us, please.
Amen. Praise the Lord, everybody. So glad to be on with you once again, Prophet. I appreciate the invitation to come on and share. Much love to my sister, Pastor McComb. God bless you. Love you so much. I'm honored to be here and to share and to be a part of this conversation on today. I think it's a good one, and I think it's going to get a lot of information out to the people. We all got something to learn from it today. So thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful. Well, you ladies have been a part of Live with Pastor RevAndreCook and the Women's Perspective Wednesday before, and you're actually back in this space not only because you are wives, but because you were in demand. They didn't want us to stop. They didn't want you to stop, and then you guys are back in this space because the viewers wanted to hear more from you. So I believe this is a good segue for our questioning. First question is, how do you balance marriage and ministry? And the question is first posed to you, Pastor Sabrina Shaw.
Such a question. First and foremost, there's definitely, to me, and at least from my own point of view, how this happened for me. I think it's best if I kind of share how it happened for me. Bishop Shaw was in ministry when we met. So I already, knew what he was doing and didn't have a big idea of how big it was going to be, but he was already in ministry. And so there was a conversation even prior to us getting married about, the plans that God had for him. And it was posed to me if I was, willing and able, or rather willing, to go on this ride of ministry. And of course, 26 years later, I said yes. So there's also a conversation that had to be had, what, his vision of what marriage and ministry for us would be, and my vision or my concept or idea of what marriage and ministry was going to be. I think it blew both of our minds because of where it is now. But there was a plan, there was communication. We had to, set boundaries, be clear about, what has to be done for ministry, what's going to be done for marriage, what's going to be done for family. My husband has this stating that, everything else can crash and burn before he loses his family, so there is definitely a balance there. There's some boundaries in terms of how much the church can have of him, and his family not have him at all. So balancing it is a communication. You got to continue to keep the lines of communications open. What's going on, what the plan is for the day, everything. Where you're going. I'm talking about even in terms of looking at the calendars and planning out what you have to do, what I have to do, and work that. So everything that we do isn't not just a one-man show. He doesn't just do something and I don't just do something. Everything we do for ministry and everything we do for marriage is something that we plan together. No one walks out the door without sharing what the whole scope of our day, of our week, of our month is. It's as though we go over our calendars together. And then we make time. So we balance our marriage and our ministry by communication, by setting boundaries, by planning our day, by planning everything out without leaving the other out of the equation.
It sounds like, Sabrina, that you are saying that the key to your marriage, as well as the component of ministry, is communication. I've heard you maybe mention it 4 or 5 times, because they say, and I think this is a good place to go. It's a conversation that needs to be had, because again, after 26 years of being married to Dr. Shore, you're reiterating, and I guess this, well, I don't want to say guess, the reason for your success over the course of 26 years, whether it involved ministry or not, is that key of communication. Because it has been said, Sabrina, that one of the reasons that most marriages fail is communication, second to finance, and there's some who are successful without finance because of the key of communication. Could you please, just for the sake of further clarity, could you discuss that communication component?
Absolutely, because we understand this. This is another statement that's been said, and I'm going to quote that, Bishop Shaw said it, and maybe even yourself, Prophet. The lack of communication is the cancer of all relationships. If you do not have communication, that means every area of your life, whether it's ministry, you got to communicate with the church, you got to communicate with your leaders, you got to communicate with your wife, you got to communicate, with the people you counsel, you got to communicate with your family. Everything has to be a communication. When you're about to do something, again, that it's going to affect the people that you are involved with, or, have a relationship with, you have to have a communication. How do you feel about that? It's not just, I'm going to do this. It's, how do you feel about me making this decision? How do you feel about me going here or doing that, or, whatever that is? There is a communication. Anything that I, because he is my head, I communicate with him to make sure, hey, is this okay? What do you think about that? So it's always a communication. I will never, ever, again, like I said, he's my head. I will never, ever make a decision, especially a vital decision that can affect ministry or family or even myself, without communicating that with my leader, my husband, my spouse. I will never do that. So, and that's the vice versa. We always communicate, especially in small detail as well. Communicate what we're eating tonight. Everything is a communication. Everything is a communication. You keep those lines of communication open, and we understand that's what I mean in terms of having boundaries. If you start knowing that the communication is where we're going to start, and that is something that we plan out, you can't go wrong.
So let me ask you a question, because again, thank you, Sabrina, for voicing these truths, and I'm certain that someone is being blessed so far. But in hearing you, of course, I'm hearing about communication, and thank you for sharing how it works in your home and your marriage with Dr. Shore. But what about the individual? From my experience of 32 something years or more, just pastoring this one church and having planted others and so on, it has put me in a position of being a counselor, and oftentimes having to counsel married folk. And I have received some pushback when it comes to communication, because for some women it is perceived as control. Could you speak to that?
Well, okay, I can speak for
Because
my
you said that Dr. Shore's your head,
exactly.
and and I certainly understand, but from a woman's perspective, and an experienced woman, you're not just a novice, and you and John have been at this successfully for 26 years, and I'm certain there's been its ups and its downs, but you have done something that isn't common today. You have managed to stay together for 26 years. And again, there's a level, it's times have changed, Sabrina, because you and I have come up in a different time.
Absolutely.
When both male and female, both the man and the woman, it seems to be that communication can be perceived as control. You said, I'm going with what you said. I've come from a different, time, and as strong as my father was, and I had strong parents, both, that they didn't leave the house, as you said, without each other knowing where they were going and when they were likely to return.
Mm-hmm.
And as strong as my mother was as a woman, it was never perceived as if he was trying to control her. And I've been a part of those conversations. I've heard it said, and I like to know, because I said this the other day, and then I'll give you an opportunity to answer. I said this to a woman the other day. Your husband, you're telling me that your husband is shut down. I said, can I ask you a question? Did you shut him down?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, well, what do you mean? I said, well, if he's trying to communicate with you and you're talking over him or at him or telling him how it's going to be, maybe he has been shut down and he's not talking. And to prevent conflict, he's remaining silent.
Mm-hmm.
But all silent voices are not thinking minds.
Mm-hmm. True.
So what is he thinking while he is shut down? You've won the battle, but it's possibly you losing the war. And this whole dynamics, please, Sabrina, just express. I want to hear control. This control issue.
Okay, I'm going to try not to go too far into it, but I'll say this. I've come from a very strong family of 50 years of marriage, and so has Bishop Shaw. I'm old school, as you know. And my husband is definitely younger than I am. But at the same time, I know who I married enough to trust his decisions. Okay. So I don't look at it as control when it comes to our communication. It's something that we both agree that this is how we need to work things out. We have to communicate. And also, one thing I know this, and this is definitely true. You have to know when is a good time for certain things to be communicated. So I kind of said this, me and my husband wrote this book, 31 Days of Marital Wisdom. I said in my part is that you have to know your husband's cycle. And this is what I mean. There are going to be times when he's in a place mentally, emotionally, that he's not, even though you may say something good and that's worth him listening to, he may not be in a place to hear it or receive it. So that kind of is similar to what you're saying about this woman. You know, I think people look at submission and you know, and communication in a very negative way now.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You have to know who you're married to. You know who you're courting. You know who you're dating. You know when you know, red flags are up and when the communication is going left. You know, sometimes, you know, I say this other thing. Do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? So do you want to push yourself to make sure you're right in what you're saying, or do you just want to, you know what? I'll take the L on this. It's all good, because you taking the L may save something from it being something bigger. It's not necessarily everything that has to be said. You can also communicate by not saying anything. So sometimes you need to step back and reassess. You know, sometimes communication, you just need a moment before you even say it. Just take a moment before timing is everything when you communicate. So it doesn't make me feel less than or inferior or in any way that I feel, hey, I need him to understand how I feel as well. So I get an opportunity to communicate. Communication is not one-sided. It's a it's a conversation. It's give and take. If I ask you a question, I'm asking because I need you to give me some information back, or I need your opinion on that. It's give and take. But that's what a healthy marriage is. I really believe a healthy marriage is communication, getting your answers or not even getting your answers. But as long as you have the opportunity to know, I can ask this, I can communicate this, we can talk about it. But some people, they don't feel like they can because they feel it's very controlling. I don't feel it's controlling. Not at all.
Excellent. Pastor Cameron G. McComb, same question. How do you balance marriage and ministry? And would you start out by sharing with us, how long have you and Overseer Deshaun McComb has been married? I actually forget.
13 years.
13 years. All right. Share with us.
Well, I believe that we balance it through the segments of Pastor Shaw, communication and compromise. One, I know his calling. He knows mine, and like Pastor Shaw, he is my head. I don't try to usurp authority over him. I don't try to trump him. I allow him to be a man, and I think that's so important because sometimes, if we're too strong, like you were saying about the lady, we can shut a man down before he can even lead. And so I try not to do that. I try to make sure always that I'm allowing him to lead. And I hate the word allow, but you know, I don't want to force my way into making him do something, or I want him to know he is the man of our house. He is the priest of our house. And besides that, I'm looking after him. I love him. So I'm always guarding to make sure that what we're doing, our decisions we're making, it's not just about him, it's about both of us, but it has to be something that we both agree with, that help both families. I don't want ever to have an issue where what we're trying to make a decision on, what we're communicating, is bumping heads because, hey, this is what I want, this is what you want. That compromise is a big part of it. Is it good for our family? Is it good for what we're building? Is it good for what you're called to do? And I never want to stand in the way of what he's called. I have this thing about if I stop him from doing what God has called him, I don't want God to punish me, or for the lack of better words, for not allowing him to be him. And neither do I want him to make me feel the way that like I can't be myself with him or be who I'm called to be within ministry. And so communication and compromise go hand in hand when it comes to balancing it and making sure that it's not always just about ministry. We have to focus on our marriage as well. We have to go places. We have to vacation. We need that time away from people, from things, from family, having that alone time, talking, just having pillow talk. laughing, joking, those things make a big difference between marriage and ministry.
I like how you said that it's communication and compromise. What does compromise look like, Pastor Cam?
Well, there's sometimes it's just between the things that maybe I may want to do, but right now he cannot do, and maybe I
Mm.
need to do it. When it comes to spending money, maybe even if, like, let's say I want to go on a vacation, but right now he cannot go, and there's going to be times where I'm going to have to say, you know what, he can't go, so I can't go, and I need to go support him over here. So I'm like, for instance, even if we have assignments, I try not to ever make assignments on the same day as him if I know he needs my support. I'll make sure that I say, I'm sorry, I'm not available. I have to support my husband at this time, because he'll tell me on days when he needs me, you know what, I really feel like I need you with me on that day. And so if
Mm.
case, I'm willing to say it's all right. I'd rather go support him because, one, he feeds our family, he takes care of our household, right?
That's
He's my breadwinner. I often call him my bank account. Have a job. He supports this family, and as the head, he carries a lot of the load. And so I want to make sure that we're comfortable with what we have to do.
I thank you, Pastor Cam. I think that what's important here in this moment of transparency is that there is an extraction for our viewers, in that our desire is not to harm them, but to help them. Because I think there's nothing sadder than when two people genuinely love each other and have made the commitment to do life together, but minor misunderstandings due to a lack of communication becomes the severing tool. It severs, because it's my present experience. I know persons who have gone through moments in which they were unable to move beyond the pain due to a lack of communication, and they severed the relationship, either by divorce or they're living estranged, but they cannot move on with others, though they have found themselves in a relationship with other people, but their heart is still knitted to their ex-husband. And I've said what you have just said. I didn't use the phrasing that you use, communication and compromise, but I've used them separately. You need to communicate, and communication is a two-way vehicle. It's you expressing how you feel, giving your spouse an opportunity to hear how you feel, and that means at times too, Sabrina, giving them time to process. For instance, in a transparent moment, I need time to process. You can spew out to me how you feel. I can even realize that I may have played a role in injuring you some kind of way, and I hear you, but I still need time to process it, for me to respond appropriately and controlled. Because sometimes in that exchange, especially if it's an argument, and triggers can be triggered, and the response is inappropriate because it's emotional, it isn't thought out, and it's self-centered, it's defensive. So, and maybe I'm speaking from a male perspective because I am a male and I talk to men about these issues, and it seems to be common, giving them an opportunity to process what you have said, to understand how you're feeling. Not it's the silence is not indicative that I didn't hear you or I don't care about what you said. I need the moment, because see, one of the characteristics of femininity, which is inherent by women, is that level of sensitivity. There's a sensitivity that, ladies, you're viewing. Let me just say, most men do not have it. You're teaching them along the way to become increasingly sensitive, but you got to give them that moment to process it, to process it, to process it. So, Lady Cam, I think this communication and compromise, and um, you know, no secret, I've been married and now divorced and living as a single in a place of wholeness. Um, that was a big issue for me. The big issue was, and I'm dealing with something you said, Pastor Cam, because you brought it to the surface. Sabrina, you pull me in if I'm going over the edge here, because I'm going to say something. My biggest issue was a lack of support. When you, for instance, I had been single for quite a number of years. And Sabrina, what happened is I married a woman who was a part of the church, and being a part of the church demonstrated it by membership that she was supportive. But it seemed like after we got married, she became less supportive. And it was more about the opportunities that the marriage presented. In other words, I've got to go to the minister's wives meeting. Okay, but what about being a wife to the minister? And when you are accustomed to a level, now I went through this to learn it. I'm looking out every Sunday, every Tuesday night, the Sunday evenings, whatever's going on. And I have grown accustomed to a supportive tribe.
Mm-hmm.
And it became problematic for me to look up and not see my wife in attendance or supporting. And I'm the breadwinner. I'm just, reward me with, I guess I'm saying, maybe I should have been rewarded with her continued visible support. And it was problematic for me. Can you talk about that, Sabrina? What are your thoughts there?
So my question then is to you, was there any communication when things started changing for you when it came to ministry? Because it turns out that it was something that was very difficult for her to adjust to, because you're very itinerant.
Your husband is itinerant, so
very itinerant. But so how I was able to deal with that, first of all, to again, full truth, transparency, I started seeing, I already knew I saw he was in ministry, and things really started picking up. And so again, we had that conversation, although he wasn't there yet. He knew that God was doing something greater. He knew that there was something more coming. And so the question was posed to me, am I willing to go with him on that journey when that time came? My answer, of course, was yes. Now, it became a lot. It truly was, as you can tell, there were times, we were in service wee hours of the morning after service was over. I had to go to work the next morning. You know what I'm saying? But it was something greater within him that I knew was there. And that's where the compromise was. I'm good with it. I'm okay with it, especially if in that time I get my time. So if you can do that and still give me time, we're good. But hey, are you okay with me doing? Yeah, I'm okay with that. But if I say I'm not okay, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to say I'm not okay. You know what I'm saying? I want to support what you're doing, because I already said I'm going with you. I'm going to do this with you. I was just asking, let me go back to this. I asked you a question. Was there any communication? She had to have seen the change in you. She had to have seen, your ministry flourishing. She had to have seen that, and so what was her interpretation of what she saw? Did she see herself being left out? Was she seeing herself being a part of all of that? Because one thing, and this may not have anything to do with that, I didn't see myself in ministry when I started dating Bishop Shaw. I was brought into it because of not just him giving me something to do, because he also saw something in me as well.
Yes.
And so we were going to do this as a team. We're doing this as a team. We're doing this together. And so there had to be, if there was communication, there had to be some understanding of the communication. Because see, we can communicate also, going back to that, we can communicate, but we understand that you understand what I'm saying when you can repeat back to me what it is you believe I'm saying. Because if you're going to communicate to me something that I'm not really saying, then we're not really communicating.
Excellent.
You don't really understand what I'm saying to you because that's not what I'm saying.
Excellent.
You know what I'm saying? So
please,
yeah,
Sabrina, I need you to reiterate that is excellent. You know that it's been comprehended when I repeated back to you. Say that again. That was very.
So if I communicate something to you and I say, this is how I feel, and I said, so what did I say to you? What did that sound like that I said to you? And you say, I'm saying to you ABC, and your response is XYZ. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm communicating to you. I'm communicating to you something totally different than what you understand I'm saying to you. So how is that real good communication? We're saying something, we're dialoguing, but we're not communicating because you don't quite understand what it is I'm saying.
Did that ever require a third party, for instance, counseling? Because sometimes there's a communication gap.
True. There is a communication gap. It hasn't taken a third party for us.
Okay.
It just takes trying to get that explanation to you a different way. It may have to take another example for you to understand exactly what it is that I'm trying to say.
So is it safe to say then you would have to have patience?
Absolutely.
Your objective is to communicate how you're feeling and what you're thinking. Dr. Shaw may not be not understanding, grasping at that moment, but yet you are here. Here, there he is. Effective communication requires comprehension. Yeah, you know how I feel about you. You need to come in on this last segment. Hey, Petro, this young man received Christ and our ministry and was baptized. Yeah, so excellent. And so let's shift to question number 3. I really, I so want to stay there, but that is such a powerful, again, being transparent, and what I know now, if I knew then, my marriage probably could have been salvaged or saved, but because what happens is when there's a lack of understanding and comprehension, it's compounding. Every next situation is just further building, and then underneath it is all the unresolved issues.
Mm-hmm.
So every new issue, even though it may be minor, but take out the trash. What you say to me? If the issue is not taking out the trash, we have unresolved issues, and so that's the issue. Dr. Sabrina, since we're talking with you, let's segue into our third question. What do you wish you could have known about ministry before you got married? Take it away.
Oh my God. That I was going to lose sleep. I was such an early. I would go to bed early. I go to bed so early, and that I was going to lose a lot of sleep. That's true. Um, but one of the things, and
I don't mean
even
to cut you off, especially coming into beginning anew.
Lord
When,
Jesus,
when,
I listen. It changed my life. It changed my life. No, really, totally changed my life. Every aspect really of beginning anew changed my life. It gave me a totally different perspective about ministry.
mm,
Um, Again, my husband became very itinerant while he was there, and even more so now. And I if I had known what I would wish I had known, ministry changes you.
it does.
Ministry changes you. There are so many different things that are evolving, so many different things that are happening. There's flexibility that comes with it that you just didn't realize. I mean, you don't you know project or know what's going to happen, but you don't think about ministry changing you. You don't think about you know all the different nuances of ministry. There's no way to really think about that, but it definitely changes you. I wish I had known that it changed you. And when I say changes you, it you definitely become, again, flexible, even more patient. um I didn't really even realize that in ministry. Now, this may be me. I may be just new to this. That ministry, you can get weary in ministry at times. I you would have never. I would have never known. I would have never known that you would get weary, and that you're not invincible. That there are some things that are going to happen in ministry that are going to feel like they're going to weigh you down. I would have never known. I would have never known that. I would have never known, Prophet, that that people that need you, they don't have boundaries. I I would have never known that. I would have. I did. That's just something that you don't think about. You don't fantasize about, that people that need you. They don't have boundaries. They just see you as a counselor, a mentor, someone they can. They don't have boundaries. When they need you, they need you. Their concept is not their family.
I'm sorry, Sabrina. They're like children early on. When a child wants to nurse, the child wants to nurse. When the child wants to be up, the child is up. It doesn't make a difference. It's 4 a.m. in the morning and they want to jump and they want to bounce. I learned it the hard way by not establishing boundaries early on. Because, Sabrina, you were there. We can have services that would last to 11 o'clock. And I wasn't letting John go. When you came into John's life, you came into the ministry. I had appointed him as my assistant pastor. John was my second hand. He was my right hand. I was becoming increasingly itinerant, so John became more pastoral. He was carrying the work. But because I was also itinerant, it didn't afford me the usual hours that I should have established early on. So when the service was over, whether it was Sunday evening or Tuesday night or Friday, I would sit and counsel to 2 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning. And of course, you've already gone home. And at one point, John was the assistant pastor, you were the administrator, and so on and so on. And I'm like, you don't leave me here alone. But I had to learn the issue at hand was that I had failed to establish boundaries because people are going to I would watch people sit there not attentive to the sermon. They're waiting because I've said I'm going to meet with them after service. So the only thing on their mind was getting to me after service. And as a result, I see it for what it is. for what it was then, but what I refuse to allow it to become now. And so, oh God, Jonathan, get out of these comments because you know exactly what I'm gonna do. You know, him and Desan is, you know, they start with these comments, and then I'll be like, "What, gentlemen? Men's Perspective Wednesdays is next month, but they're in here. I got Pastor Cam, what do you wish you would have known about ministry before you got married?"
This may sound or come off at first as a negative comment, although it is not. But I wish I would have had friends outside of ministry.
Ooh.
Because I did not have friends outside of ministry, because we've made ministry our everything for the first 8 years of our marriage. And when we got married, I was already in ministry, not as a pastor or a first lady, but I had a following, and many of those who followed me became Macomb's first members. And so I thought I could be friends with them. But when they wanted a certain position or wanted to be noticed, wanted to be heard, wanted to be seen, all of a sudden I became the enemy. And I learned quickly that people will hide their hands and throw rocks. It was very hard at first. So I wish I would have went into it having maybe some advice from other first ladies, female pastors, uh, spiritual mothers. At the time, I didn't see any of that, didn't hear any of that, didn't know any of that. And I don't think enough of us are doing that job to help guide other young women who are coming into marriage and ministry, especially within the confines of leadership, to guide them for what they're getting ready to deal with. I mean, other people, other women wanting your husband, uh, taking his time, trying to take a lot of his time, people in his ear, people in.
I'm just being nosy. So that was part of your experience. You've been very. I remember meeting you the first time I met you. I don't know if you recall it, but when Desan introduced us, I took one look. Say it again.
It was your birthday celebration.
Was it my birthday celebration?
Yes.
But I remember I said to her, I turned around and said, "Now she's the one." I said, and God inspired, but everything in me told me that you were the one, and it was going to lead to a successful marriage. But as much as you have become a daughter, and we talk, not often, but we do talk. I still think you're very quiet. You tend to be quiet, and some of this that you're sharing with us now is new to me. So I'm just being nosy. So you've had to go through that.
Yes, I had to go through a lot of things. There were so many people, and I think some of the story, Dad, where people have wanted him to leave, even as a son to you. They wanted him to leave, and they wanted him to go on and something else, and they had convinced him, because both Dasan and I, this is our second marriage, and my first marriage was very abusive. So coming into this marriage now, my mom was very skeptical, not knowing she didn't want to see me hurt the way I was hurt the first one. So she had a thing about getting to know Dasan first before she came to love him. And she didn't know him, but she just automatically had a wall up because she was scared for me. And somebody told him, "Your wife isn't loyal because she allows her mother, who doesn't like you, to come to this church." It was like, wow, are you kidding me? And at the time, it was someone I considered friend. And so a lot of people would come against our marriage in secret, or they would come to me to try to show me that He was not good for the job. He shouldn't be the pastor. I'd had people tell me, you need the pastor, not him. And I would say, no, because God didn't tell me to. And I'm going to follow my husband. People told me, we were going to divorce. They had dreams we were going to divorce. I said, no, I'm staying right where I know God put me, because God told me that he was my husband. And I wouldn't allow anybody else's voice to deter me. However, it did put friction in between us at first, because I think it's very important that wives know the roles of husbands, or what their grace gift is, what they're good at, and husbands know the roles of their wife, what their grace gift or what they're good at. Right? I happen to be a seer. I can see things, don't know why God gave it to me, but he can. So when I see something that I looks off color, and I see that his heart is going to be damaged. I mean, how can I be a rib if I cannot protect his heart? So if I see that, I'll start telling him. And at the time, because there was so many people coming in his ear, he would not hear me. So he kept saying, well,
Rather than get out of the comments.
He said, people are psycho.
Yeah.
People come at you in all sort of ways, different ways, because of what they want, what they aspire to be. Some people want to be a first lady. I tell them, here, have the job, because you have no clue what you're asking for. I actually told God he can make me do anything but that, and that's the very thing he did. So be careful what you really want. But I mean, so many people, Apostle, came against us. And I mean, I had people call us on the phone and tell us, and leave voice messages calling him a witch. And he just wants to use me for my gift. And it was just a lot of opposition when I knew what God called me to, and he knew.
They see your glory, but don't know your story.
Don't.
Wow. And as much as we have talked over the years, 13 years or so, I didn't know all of that, but I have a general idea because I have experienced it as well. And my ex-wife often would say, after our divorce, and I asked her, well, if you didn't really feel that way, why did you go that way? And she said to me one day, and repeated it several times after, bad advice. The very folk that I was trying to warn her, just saying, just listen, you got to give this marriage a time to settle. It's going to find its routine. It's going to find, but she said to me, it was bad advice. Dr. Sabrina Shaw, our final question. How has marriage and ministry affected your personal life?
It gave us more to talk about.
Excellent.
It gave us more to talk about. It hasn't affected us in a negative way. I will say that, like, again, time becomes very late now with ministry. You're out a lot. It has affected it in that way where, we get in late, we start the day early, but it gives us things to talk about. We talk about ministry very often, quite often, not necessarily bringing the church home with us, but when we both need advice on a situation, it gives us something to talk about. We can ask for each other's point of view. But in a negative connotation, not necessarily a negative connotation. We haven't stopped enjoying each other, and I think that that's one of the things that you can't allow a negative thing to happen where you stop enjoying each other. You have to, how they always say, keep the light in the relationship going. Just as you courted, you should continue to do. You definitely need to do that. So it hasn't affected us in a way that, we still go on vacation. We still eat dinner together. We eat together all the time. our kids, our family, we do all of that together. That's another thing we try to make sure that we balance. Although we are one, we still have our separate, in ministry and our ministry roles. But I think that we've both grown spiritually. It has affected us where we've both grown spiritually in ministry. But I think that we just have to make sure that we continue to make time for each other, and yeah, keep it strong. You keep your relationship very strong if you continue to find time with each other.
Pastor Cam, same question. How has marriage and ministry affected your personal life?
I think between the two of them, it has really helped us become better best friends.
Wow.
He said we have things to talk about, and we have learned over the course of the years more balance. We laugh about a lot of things and almost everything, even to the point where sometimes we don't remember what we laughed about the next day.
I will agree, because oftentimes when I call one of you or one of you call me, you guys are usually together, and I'm on the speakerphone, and I don't know that the other's on the phone until I say something. You know how I go, and then y'all will go to laughing, and the son comes completely apart. That dad, that papa, and y'all, and so, but you guys, I enjoy your silliness. You guys being very well best friends. It does, you do come across as best friend. Sabrina, you and Dr. Shaw come across as being very close, as being friends.
That's my guy. That's my guy.
Yeah.
When we don't go on vacation, it is just fun all day, all the time.
You guys have always been the king and queen of vacation. Usually the first of the year, John's birthday is the 31st or the 1st? January 1st, and you guys are usually out. Excellent. Ladies, our time is run its course. And so what I'm going to do, Sabrina, please take a minute. What's your final comments?
I just think that before you even take the step to be married, and either one of you are in ministry, have a conversation. Take what you've heard even today or even on the replay, and maybe pose some of these questions, especially when it comes to how you're going to balance your relationship with ministry and eventually having a family. I think that it's very important, and to definitely pray. Be a prayerful couple. Pray for your mate. If you're not going to be in ministry and your mate is in ministry, pray for them. Pray for their strength. Keep them lifted. Again, I say ministry is not for the faint of heart. You got to be called, or you're crazy. Either you're called or you're crazy. So if you're called to it, stay prayerful. Have someone to have your back in ministry at all times. But take time to take care of yourself. Take time to take care of yourself. There's even a time when my husband has to take sabbatical, and I'm okay with that, because he's poured out to the church. He's poured out to people that don't go to our church that he counsels. He's poured out to me. He's poured out to his family, not just his children, to his family, his dad, to everyone. There's going to be a time when not just being with me is enough. He needs to now refuel himself by himself.
Wow.
And so you're going to have to take that time. And I think it's important for you to take that time to rest, to just decompress, get so much off of you. So when you come back, you're strengthened. But I think that being a mate of someone who is in ministry, keep them lifted, come together, communicate, have that balance. Don't just be about ministry, because it will tear your family apart.
Absolutely.
Make sure that you have your family in mind, your children in mind. Let me tell you something. Children are definitely affected, especially when they have a close relationship with their families. They can see when their mom's going through, they can see when their dad is going through. They need time too. And the most wonderful thing is to see someone in ministry take time for their family, and let the church see that too.
Excellent. Lady Cam, Pastor Cam, your final comments.
A lot of what Pastor Shaw had said, I can definitely agree with and have the same sentiments. I would say be playful in marriage. There are a lot of times when Macomb and I will just be silly and play I hit you last, silly things. Be playful with each other, be more friendly, and have a friendship. If you don't have a friendship with the person you married, work on it, because that is so important. It will help your communication. It will strengthen how you see each other, how you feel for each other, also how you pray. Know how to pray, like Pastor Shaw has said. Know how to pray for and with each other. It is not only important, but as a wife, or from a woman's perspective, there are times where you're going to have to be like Jael. Her husband Heber friended Sisera, who was an enemy of Israel. And even though her husband was a friend, she understood who the enemy was. And she was able to not only disarm him with her femininity, but she was also able to put a peg through his head. And sometimes you're going to have to war for your family and your husband, even when he doesn't understand what's coming. So I'd say, continue to pray, fast, seek the Lord, be prayerful, be playful.
Be prayerful, be playful. You who are viewing, I want you to share some love with these women of God. They have tremendously blessed us today. And I'm going to ask that they would join me again in the future and continue this conversation, because they have done extremely well. If you desire today to be a blessing, I'd appreciate your being a blessing. It will, of course, help me, of course, continue to come to you through these various means. The app Givelify, you'll find us at RevAndreCook Ministries, Cash App, $ChargeEncounter. Disregard the website; it's being rebuilt. But also, again, $ChargeEncounter at Cash App, PayPal, RevAndreCook, ZELLE, RevAndreCook at AOL.com. Corresponding address is Andre Cook Ministries, 19 High Ridge Road, Suite 8234, Stamford, Connecticut. 06905 is the zip code. Again, Dr. Sabrina Shaw, I appreciate you joining me today. Pastor Cameron G. McCone, I appreciate you being here today. I thank you. And to you who have viewed, I pray that you were blessed, and I encourage you to tell a family member, a friend, that they can go back and watch today's discussion and find the strength and help that they may desire. Father, bless us as we come to the end of this show. Bless both Dr. Sabrina Shaw and Lady Cameron G. McCone. Bless them to continue to be the women that they are, not only women of God, but the wives and the mothers that they are, and all that they are. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and bless them with additional opportunities to voice these truths, that their ministry may help others, both near and far. In the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. Bless their husbands and the ministries and their families. And those who are viewing, bless in Jesus' name. Beloveds, next month will be Men's Empowerment Wednesdays. For in the month of June, it's Men's Empowerment Month. And so there are a number of questions, subject matters and questions to present. I'll be presenting the thought for that week, and then they'll be joining me to answer the questions. And I'm certain, because I'll have it no other way, that Dr. Jonathan Shaw and Overseer Deshaun McCone are going to be a part of my guests and panelists. And so remember these words, beloveds. If it's not on your mind, it's not in your future. Elevate your mind, your feet will follow. You do not live a positive life with a negative mind. You do not offer to people what you do not have. You're to make your smile your style. Someone's watching you that can greatly bless you. You're to smile your way into favor. Smile your way into blessing. Smile your way into increase. Smile your way into divine context. Your frown repels. And with that, remember God's word. We know now that all things work together for the good. Remember that all things work together for our good, for those who love the Lord and have been called according to his purpose. And so with that, I say to you, something good is getting ready to happen to you, because something good is getting ready to come out of all you have been going through. God's blessings be upon you. May the rest of your day be superior, favored, and blessed. God's blessings be upon you. Shalom, shalom, shalom. God bless.
You don't have to worry, you made it through the night. The darkness is over, welcome to the rest of your life.
Something good is going to happen to you.
Change your life, change your day, change your life, change your day, change your life, change your day, change your life, change